Hello, hockey fans. Welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio. We have got a lot in store for you tonight. I am Adam Karnick. Zach Pupplis will be along with us in just a minute. The NHL is back after a bit of a COVID break that they had to take last week for a few days. The NHL is back. Not all the way, but 3 out of 4 games originally on the docket for tonight are going to go off. One is already completed. 2 more set to start here in a little bit. The one that was completed, a rematch of the Stanley Cup Final between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens. We will break down that game tonight. Other topics that we're going to go through tonight on the docket. Some controversy at the World Juniors. The U.S. had to pull out and forfeit a game against Sweden earlier today. And there's a men's World Juniors tournament. But for the second year in a row, there's not a women's junior tournament going on. What's up with that? And finally, as we talked about last week, there's not going to be NHL players involved in the Olympics. Not all of the NHL players are happy about that, and certainly not all of them are staying quiet about that. We've got an update on that situation. All that and more coming up on the Neutral Zone. Buckle on up. Try to stay out of the penalty box. Let's get this show going. Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome on back into the Neutral Zone. I am your one of the hosts, Adam Karnick. Zach Pupplis is here with us tonight as well. A little bit different of a show tonight. We're doing things remotely just to be safe for everybody's health right now. We had in my house, we had a little bit of cold flying around for a little bit, and Zach is had some stuff he's dealing with, so we're doing things remotely tonight, but we're going to have some fun. We're sure the silliness and zaniness that you have come to expect from both of us, we will try to bring that to you just the same as we always do. Zach, good evening, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Good, Adam. How are you?
We're done with Christmas. I'm done working now for the rest of the year. Got a couple of days off, so it could always be worse. It could always be worse.
Hey, that's exciting. I missed last week. What were some of your Christmas wishes that you had on the show?
Well, my Christmas wishes were for my Chicago teams, for my Chicago specifically. For hockey, oh man, anymore. I think to get through this season. I mean, they're up to now 80 games have been postponed, rearranged. I mean, that's almost an entire team's season. I don't know. I'm getting the feeling like we're gonna get through this, but I don't know that we're gonna be able to get a full 82 game season at this point.
Oh yeah, that's rough.
But before we get too much into all that, let's give a quick shout out and acknowledgement to our sponsors this week, starting with the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or go to Facebook and search Southern California Warriors. And Background Check International. Businesses, are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Fremen take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes, such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. Go to their website, bcint.com. Find them on Facebook, Background Check International-BCI. And then IE Sports Radio. For the last 7.5 years, we have been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 30 of our shows. We have 3 new shows debuting this week. Wisconsin, New Orleans, and North Texas, Oklahoma regions are getting added into the IE Sports Radio family. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to all our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And we do want to acknowledge our Patreon supporters at Bay Area Raised and at M. Losgreat. And then this show is available to you on Twitter at IESR Neutral Zone. I am at Adam_Karnick. Zach is at The Pupless. I think that gets us through all of the reads. Did I miss anything, Zach?
No.
Yeah.
Like.
Whoop. Are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Ah, there we go. Aha, now we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Typical.
All right. Oh, Taryn's in the chat room. He's asking about the fan of the month. I hadn't been notified of who the fan of the month is. Taryn, do you have that for me? I'd love to include it. I don't have that particular bit of info. So let me see if I can try and find that. So, all right. Well, while I'm doing that, Zach, get us caught up. The NHL was able to get started and back up and going after a nice long Christmas break, a little bit longer than they anticipated. But things got started off with a rematch of the Stanley Cup final between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens. Zach, go ahead and get us caught up on that.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me this time?
Yes, yeah. Now we're coming in nice and clear.
Okay, good. Can you hear me now?
Good.
All right. In this rematch, Tampa Bay, it was quite a doozy. Tampa Bay won 5-4 against Montreal in overtime. Braden Point had 2 goals for Tampa Bay. I think he said and an assist.
Yes.
Okay. Which, I mean, it's Braden Point. He's worth at least a point a night, you know. I mean, I think that should be factored into, like, the spread and, like, the line and stuff, shouldn't it?
Anymore at this point, yeah. Just assume.
He's at least getting 1 goal, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, he got 2 goals. Tampa Bay also had contributions from Ross Colton for a goal, Corey Perry for a goal, and Andre Palat scored the overtime winner. It's 36 seconds into overtime. Wow.
I love the 3-on-3 format for overtime. It's just made for stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they said this team's pretty feisty and pesky, and we want to get this over with as soon as possible.
Exactly.
That on the flip side, you got Montreal. They got goals from Lucas Veldamo, Cale Clegg, something, David Savard, and Raphael Harvey Pinard.
Yeah, and the Canadians were 20 seconds away from winning the thing in regulation when Corey Perry scored the tying goal. That's gotta hurt for Montreal.
Oh, that's a kick in the nuts right there.
Yeah. You're 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
Just hold out. Come on. Oh gosh.
Yeah,
I was watching the bowl game earlier, and it was very similar. It was Air Force kept scoring, but where are they playing? Louisville. Louisville kept almost keeping up with them, just maybe like one score behind each time, and it's like I bet Air Force was getting nervous at the end. Like, okay, come on, we just gotta take a couple knees, get this last minute and 30 seconds, burn off the clock, and just get the heck out of here with a win. So I feel Tampa Bay probably felt the same way.
Yeah, and for Montreal, I mean, you talk about that would have been such a that would have been such a win too, because the Canadians are off to such a rough start. I mean, they're now 7-21-4 on the season, but to have been able to go into Tampa Bay and beat them in regulation, obviously it doesn't fix all the problems that they're having here at the start of the season, but it would have made you feel good at least. And instead, not only do you not hang on to the lead, you only come away with a point in a game where you think they probably should have won in regulation.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, they would have a huge momentum builder if they'd gotten the win, but at the same time, like, okay, to be able to say, hey guys, we were able to hold our own with like the best in the league for 3 periods plus. Back to the form that they were in, for the Stanley Cup. I mean, that's got to be some. I mean, I hate to say moral victories, but
Yeah, it's a moral victory, but man, it's a kick in the pants for sure. You were 20 seconds away from winning, and instead all you get is a measly point for going to overtime.
Yeah, the standings. Right during the game, anyways, Tampa Bay was still first in the Atlantic, and the Montreal is still 8th. So I think we discussed this earlier in the year. With the divisions being back to normal, quote unquote normal, it's going to be a much tougher road for Montreal to get back to the Stanley Cup now that they're in the same division with Boston, with Tampa Bay, etc.
Yeah. And then dropping the puck in about 15 minutes. We've actually got 2 games going on here in about 15 minutes. We've got Terrence Kings are hosting the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Puck drops on that in about 15 minutes. And then also your Arizona Coyotes. I call them your Arizona Coyotes, Zach, because I know you have such strong, passionate feelings about the Arizona Coyotes. They are going to San Jose to take on the Sharks.
Only because I want them to close up shop and move to Quebec City.
Anywhere, please. Somewhere not Arizona. It's been a little while since we've been able to do a show together and in person and all the normal setup for the show. Unfortunately, we didn't get to talk about it with Arizona a few weeks ago when the city literally locked the doors to the stadium and said, no, you can't come in until you pay your back taxes.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, they locked it up and said, no, you owe us something like $15 million in unpaid income taxes. We'd like that check, please.
That's ballsy. I love it.
Oh yeah. And the team paid, attributed it to clerical error, but, we all know how that goes.
Was that the Wesley Snipes defense?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah. Yeah. We'll just call it that and hope that nobody notices. So
right.
Oh, and that's right, Taryn. I'm sorry. I misquoted. That's right, Taryn. I'm sorry. Taryn is a Ducks fan, but the Kings are in his region, so he does cover them. The Ducks are off. I think the Ducks were supposed to play tomorrow, but they were... Oh, no, they are playing tomorrow. Their game got spared. The Ducks are playing tomorrow night. They're hosting Vancouver because the game is happening in Anaheim. It's still going to happen because that's one of the things with all of the COVID protocols and games being postponed. There was new news and information coming out. And one of the things, I was having a conversation with Ben, our host of the Yinzer Report out in Pittsburgh. He's on Tuesdays at 1:00, talking all things Pittsburgh, and he is a big Penguins fan, and he was voicing his frustration over the weekend. The Penguins did get postponed. Their game tomorrow night got postponed, and he and I were going back and forth a little bit, and Ben was upset that, the NBA and the NFL are able to kind of work their way through some of these COVID issues a little bit more smoothly and elegantly than the NHL is. And in fact, the NHL today postponed 9 more games, bringing their total up to 80. That's, almost an entire team's worth of games now has been postponed that they're going to have to move about. Part of the reason that they're having trouble, and this was ESPN did a nice write-up on this earlier today, where part of the reason they're having the trouble is the NFL or the NBA, yes, they have to work with their unions and they have to work within U.S. health code and guidelines, and they have to work with the CDC in determining things. In the NHL, because there's 7 teams in Canada and the league is headquartered in Canada, not only do they have to work with the CDC, but they've got to work too with the Canadian version of the CDC, and the two organizations, the CDC and the Canadian version, are not in lockstep. They don't have the same guidelines and parameters in place. So
yeah, exactly. That definitely makes it difficult for them to work in coordination.
Yeah, and in Canada right now, I mean, they're facing the possibility that you may not be able to cross the border for a little bit while now. They're starting to run into that problem again.
Yikes! Would they realign divisions in the middle of the season?
I don't know how you could do that. I don't know how you could. And they already had I talked about this a little bit last week. They had a kind of shadow schedule put in place in case they did pull players out of the Olympics, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the players' reactions to the Olympics. But sure. I don't know if you could have another shadow schedule of, okay, we're stopping the league and we're realigning divisions and we're pushing go on the season again. I don't know. Has that ever been done before by anybody at any time?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's crazy.
Yeah, that'd be a tough. I mean, I would think if the NHL is going to do that, you'd have to make it to the All-Star break, and that's still another 5 weeks out that they've got to get through. They've got to finish up this last week of December, and then they've got to get all the way through January. I don't know that you could. I don't know that you could realign divisions before the All-Star break, just because you don't have a natural stopping point.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as of now, the extra games that they canceled, all of them were taking place in Canada. The major reason that the NHL cited, is there's attendance restrictions in Montreal, Winnipeg, Toronto, Ottawa, and Calgary.
Sure.
And there's a game between the Canadiens and the Bruins on January 12th that was supposed to be in Montreal. They've went ahead and made that a home game for the Bruins. That's going to be in Boston now instead of Montreal.
Okay.
So, and of course, their hope is to shift. They're trying to move games that are taking place in Canada to be later in the season when restrictions might be lifted.
Sure. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But with Canada limiting how many fans are allowed in the building right now, it's hard. It's hard, because my wife is reminding that I need to let you talk.
You're fine. You're good, honestly, because if I too long, I'm going to start coughing. So
yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. The NHL is so reliant, like most major sports, they do bring in a good chunk of revenue based on ticket sales. And if you're, once again, not letting fans in the building or not letting a number of fans that you're used to having in the building, that's going to cut into the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So anything they can do. And then also, having the two health organizations not quite in lockstep, with each other. The U.S., the CDC having different guidelines and recommendations than the Canadian board. That makes it difficult when you're constantly moving back and forth and having people from one side of the border move to the other.
For sure. While we're on this, it's got me thinking. Okay, we had a Stanley Cup rematch earlier tonight, and now we're talking about differences in how many fans can be in attendance, in the U.S. games versus the Canadian games. And so it's got me wondering, going back to the Stanley Cup last year, Tampa Bay had fans, whereas Montreal had, nobody. And, okay, we're talking about lines a little bit earlier. And, in football, for instance, typical home field advantage is 3 points. So if the line's at 3, then the teams are equal. So, but I wonder how that affected it in the Stanley Cup with Montreal not having anybody there. I mean, was that a more adverse impact on them, or was Tampa Bay just that much better?
Yeah, that's an interesting. I hadn't thought about that before. Yeah, I mean, you see that in though interestingly, and this is gonna veer off topic, but interestingly enough, that home field advantage has almost disappeared this season in the NFL. But you're right, historically, home field advantage has been worth about 3.5 points in the NFL. I'm not sure what the NHL betting equivalent of that would be, if that's worth half a goal, or what kind of an advantage. Because obviously, from a purely anecdotal standpoint, that home ice plays a factor. Even if for no other, home ice plays a factor in the NHL, if for no other reason than the last change. That the home team gets the last change. You get to see who the other team is putting out, what line the other team is putting out there, and then you can react by putting a line you want out there in response to that. So home ice clearly has an advantage, but I don't know, from a crowd perspective. I mean, you would think it would, but I don't know from a betting standpoint if it would. You're the casino guy.
Sure, I mean,
go look into that.
Right. Reminds me of a GIF I sent earlier today. Hey, aren't you the Monopoly guy?
Yeah, aren't you the... Hey, wait a minute. Wait a second.
Well, I mean, yeah, you think about it. you got the passion and the enthusiasm of all the Tampa Bay fans. They're hooting and hollering, and it's going to get into the mental state and the psyche of all the Montreal players. You'd think, unless they're that mentally tough, and vice versa. Now you go to Montreal and but there's nobody hooting and hollering, getting into the minds of all the Tampa Bay players.
Yeah.
So just shower thoughts, basically.
Yeah. No. It definitely. It was. I go back. We'll do that. We'll do this thought real quick, and then we'll take a break real quick. But I go back to thinking about when they set up the bubble. Back in August of 2020, when they set up the bubble, and they were playing all those games with no fans, and it was such a unique experience because they almost kind of embraced the idea that there wouldn't be fans in there, and they put the extra boards up where the seats were, and the video boards, and they did virtual fans and different, made it more of a television studio there in the arena, and really did some different things there, which I thought was really unique and really innovative, and making the most of a bad situation. But then, last year it was effectively, now we're just going to put tarps over the seats and you're just going to play. And if there's crickets, there's crickets. And it's such a strange thing. I mean, obviously, if it's not safe to have fans, there shouldn't be fans. But at the same time, you can clearly understand why they were missed and why everybody was excited when they were back.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll actually not talk NHL for a little bit. We're going to dive into the World Juniors, both the games that are being played and some games that aren't being played, some for different reasons than others. This is the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio. He is Zach. I am Adam. We will be right back after this.
What is going on, everybody? This is Ben Metello, the host of the Yinza Report, right here on IE Sports Radio. I'm bringing you the latest in the Steel City, the City of Champions, from the Steelers, the Penguins, the Pirates, as well as the college game with both Penn State and Pitt. You could join me every Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, where I'll be talking about everything from the Steel City, the City of Champions, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You got to check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I hope everybody during that break there was able to go over to our website, iesportsradio.com, and check out our Patreon link. Again, check out our Patreon link. $5 a month gets you a shout out on the show, just like at Bay Area Raised and at M Los Great. If you are able, we really, really, really would appreciate that. If not, we understand. Just being here listening is wonderful. All right, so we're going to take a quick break from the NHL before we dive back into some more talk about them a little later on in the show. But there's always controversy in the world of hockey, and we've got lots of that here for the back half of the show. But we wanted to start it off with the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation, and specifically the World Juniors are set to go on. In fact, the U.S. had to cancel and forfeit a preliminary game against Sweden today because of the COVID-19 pandemic going on. The U.S. men's team was just down too many men in order to get a team out there on the ice. However, for the second year in a row, the women's tournament has just straight up been canceled. And it's taken at face value, taken at itself, the reason that they have stated that the women's tournament has been canceled is because of the pandemic. And obviously, there's merit to that. There is still a global pandemic going on. Yes, we do have the vaccines. Yes, we're trying to work our way through this. At the same time, it is still out there. People are still getting it. This new variant is going through everybody seemingly right now. So that, taken at face value, you can understand. But at the same time, the men's tournament is going on, and it is still happening. So there's clearly something more going on here than just simply, well, there's a pandemic. Am I totally off my rocker here, Zach?
No, if they're gonna say due to the pandemic, like why not cancel bowls? I mean, I think there's something else here in play.
Yeah, and it's going on in the World Juniors are happening in Sweden this year, and all right, they're reduced capacity. It's not like the women's game doesn't draw butts into the seats. You know, especially anytime you get Canada and the U.S. playing in hockey, men's, women's, Paralympics, even little kids, it's always a draw. And Sweden, it's one of those countries where hockey is big in Sweden. So it's, I don't know. I understand why there's outrage and frustration with this decision by the IIHF.
I mean, yeah, they say for the health and wellness of all the athletes and everything, but at the same time, like, that would make sense if you're canceling both sides of it. But if you're only canceling the women's, then I think there could definitely be some criticisms pointed their way.
Yeah, it's just and I'm trying to, especially now that I've got a 3-year-old, a 3-year-old daughter. And so I'm trying to be more cognizant and aware in my own life of, hey, do I let biases or prejudices get in the way from time to time, or in another proactive way, it's, hey, I enjoy watching sports. I should find ways to do that can be better representative for my daughter, to see that, hey, it's not just big burly 300-pound men that play sports. That there are women that play sports and play them really well too. And so seeing this story just irritates me, bugs me. I get with it, IIHF. It's damn near 2022.
Yeah. In college, the NCAA had a similar story with women's golf this year. They were supposed to play a championship in LSU at a golf course down there, and it rained, so the course was not playable to our championship level, whatever. It's like, okay, well, then let the kids adapt. It's not like you're giving one team an unfair advantage. Everybody's got the same disadvantage. Let them play. But no, they canceled that tournament too. But the men's one went on elsewhere, and they even had golf courses call from like all over the place. And well, you can't play here. Well, come play our course instead. Like, but no, NCAA was stupid and just flat out canceled it. Like, didn't give any real reason.
Yeah, and it's the easy button. is really what it is.
Yeah.
It's just easier to here's an event that we feel like. Terrence chiming in. He remembers exactly what you're talking about, Zach. Terrence also calling BS, and I'm happy to call BS on just about anything the NCAA does. So, but yeah,
Right.
it just feels like when you've got any sport or any event where it's, well, we're doing this because we have to. It just feels like any time that the bottom line is going to get affected in any way, shape, or form, it's just easiest to push the cancellation button and, the situation was less than ideal, therefore we had to cancel it, rather than try to figure out a way to work through and actually solve the problem.
Yeah, true.
And obviously, a global pandemic isn't something you just solve over a cup of tea and biscuits, but
yeah, once every 100-year kind of issue. But yeah,
right, you're right, exactly. Hopefully, this is the only one of these we're ever going to go through in our lifetimes. But
right, good Lord.
I like this from Taryn. NCAA not caring about athletes.
Right. We have a vendor at work that I told my boss they go by an acronym, and so I said, yeah, for as much crap as they put us through, I think I need to come up with a derogatory version of their acronym.
Yeah. Yup. Oh yeah. And well, the NCAA is low hanging fruit. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they deserve everything, every bit of shot that comes their way. They deserve. So absolutely. But
on the college sports show I listen to, they call Mark Emmert the $3 million pinata.
Ping, ping, ping. Yeah.
Right.
So there's the controversy from one controversy to the World Juniors to the ever-going controversy that is the NHL's involvement in the Olympics. I talked last week about how the word came down. It officially came down last week, Wednesday, but it was leaked last Tuesday, about an hour before we went on the air or so, that the NHL was officially pulling its players out of the Olympics in Beijing. Not unexpected, but still disappointing. Well, some of the players have skipped straight over disappointed and are going straight to brimstone and ashes. Zach, what did Brad Marchand have to say about it this week?
What's the term where scorched earth? Is that it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good phrase for it. Scorched earth. Yeah.
All right. So Boston Bruins Brad Marchand rips the NHL for nixing participation in the 2022 Olympics, per Greg Wyshynski, ESPN. So no, this is a perfect segue, because we were just talking about. You said it's their easy way out. Mm-hmm. Anytime they run into something difficult, we're just going to push the cancellation button because our bottom line's at risk, and et cetera. So, and I'm going to tie back into that. So perfect segue. On Tuesday, Bruins winger Brad Marchand became one of the most prominent NHL players to openly criticize the league's decision to opt out of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing because of COVID-19 postponements. Let's see here. He was quoted as saying, the NHL and NHL PA can change the rules of the CBA to add taxi squads so that they don't miss any games and don't lose any money, which has already been agreed upon, that the players will pay back in escrow until the owners are made whole from what they have lost during this pandemic, regardless of how many games are missed. yet they can't do a taxi squad during the Olympics. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase that. My emphasis was wrong. Yet they can't do a taxi squad during the Olympics so they can honor the agreement that they made so the NHL players can go to Beijing, wrote Marchand. Please tell me that that's not BS.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing actually from Wyshynski, a quote here from Wyshynski on that. Marchand does make a point in soccer, and this is from Greg Wyshynski. In soccer, players go on loan. The primary club doesn't give up the player; they simply loan them out. Andrew Hagenball would be good to get in on this because he's our soccer host. He does Soccer Scoreboard on Sunday nights. He would understand this way better than I would. But yeah, the league, the NHL wouldn't necessarily have to shut down for those couple weeks. They could bring up AHL players. They could bring up minor league guys or taxi squad guys to fill in the roster gaps for those players that are going to go play in the NHL. Because not everybody goes to play in the Olympics. Only some of the players do.
Yeah, exactly. Marchand continued, he said, the players should have been given the choice to forfeit their pay while competing at the Olympics. Gary Bettman then said, NHL respects and admires the desire of NHL players to represent their countries and participate in a quote-unquote best-on-best tournament. Accordingly, we have waited as long as possible to make this decision while exploring every available option to enable our players to participate in the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. NHL has now postponed, he said, 80 games through today. Yeah.
Yep. So
yeah.
Obviously, not everybody is happy with the fact that the NHL has pulled its players out of the Olympics. And at the same time, we've heard from, some NHL players wouldn't be, you brought up a couple weeks ago that some NHL players wouldn't be playing. Robin Lehner turned down the opportunity to play for Team Sweden in the Olympics back when NHL players were still expecting to play. It's some guys wouldn't be participating because it is still a global pandemic. It is still, you're looking at potentially 5 weeks of having to stay in China if, quarantined in China if you come down with it. But it's still, it sounds like the players wanted this to be more of an individual decision rather than a league-wide mandate.
Yeah, true. The way I see it, it'd be interesting to figure out how soccer does it with the players on loan and everything. But the way I see it, at the end of the day, it's a business. They have demands to meet, aka putting on games. If they want to get paid, also, they pay the salaries of the players, and with worsening COVID conditions, they would be putting their investments at risk. Any other year, an Olympic break is a nice perk, and it's something that we want to be able to allow our players to have this honor of representing their countries in these Olympic Games, best on best tournament, as Gary Bettman calls it. But like this year, the NHL needs to prioritize needs over wants.
Yeah. And I just, to circle back, I was just a couple hours, I'm just seeing this now, a couple hours ago, the IIHF president, Luc Tardif, issued a statement trying to explain why they canceled the women's tournament, not the men's. And I'm just going through it, and on the one hand, I admire him for this isn't just a standard cut and dry statement. You can tell that he is speaking, and this is not necessarily, it doesn't read like a prepared statement, if you know what I mean, but at the same time, he doesn't really give a reason why the men's tournament is going on and the women's isn't.
So you're not really able to. He's not really shedding more light on it, so we can make heads or tails of it.
No. He says this is not a gender issue. How is it fair to postpone all? How is it okay? I would ask in turn, how is it fair to postpone all the time the top divisions and always to simply cancel the lower divisions? These cancellations have affected 6 tournaments, not just one, including 2 men's U20 events that critics seem to conveniently forget. Is there an economic incentive, and skip a bit, but is there an economic incentive to host the men's World Championship and World Juniors every year, no matter what? Absolutely. But people misunderstand that this is because we favor men's hockey over women's, which is completely false. Okay. So then explain why. Okay. So one thing so he puts in here that this is a COVID issue. Again, I'm not going to fault you, President Tardif. I'm not going to fault you for saying this is a COVID issue. You are correct. But then why is the men's tournament still going on? That he doesn't address that in here at all. It's a 5-paragraph statement, and I commend him for speaking from the heart. Not just having a lawyer draft up some bland, cold, anonymous statement, but actually putting some thought into it and talking. But he doesn't address, if it's not safe for the women to play, why is it safe for the men to play? He does not address that at all in the statement. So good try, and I was made aware of it thanks to Sarah Nurse on Twitter. She is, a former Canadian gold medalist herself. Won gold and silver with the Canadian women's team, and her response was, "Nope, this isn't it." So I'm not alone in my thinking that something smells wrong here with this response.
Yeah, something's up with that.
So yeah.
Swing and a miss with his explanation.
Yeah, exactly. Nice try. Come back and do this again. And do it better next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so. But yeah. So with that, so of course the Olympics, Brad Marchand and the NHL players are not happy. But what's done is done at this point. So who is going to be coaching the U.S. Olympic team, since it's obviously not going to be an NHL coach?
Sure. So U.S. names David Quinn coach and John Van Beesbrook GM for the NHL list Olympics per the AP today. Plan B for another Olympics without the best hockey players in the world. This makes 2 in a row. The NHL did not participate in the 2018 games either. David Quinn was quoted as saying, "To be named the head coach under these circumstances, it's bittersweet in some ways." He said Monday, "We are all hoping that the NHL guys were going to go, but to be named the head coach for the 2022 Olympic team is an incredible honor." Originally, Quinn was supposed to be an assistant on Mike Sullivan's coaching staff. Quinn, 55, was the only member of the initial coaching staff not currently working in the NHL. He coached the New York Rangers the past 3 seasons after 5 seasons at Boston University. Internationally, Quinn most recently coached for the U.S. as an assistant at the 2016 World Championships and also in the state tournament on the staff for 2007 World Championships and the 2012 World Championships. He says, "All these opportunities have prepared me for this." The GM, Van Beesbrook, will be tasked with drawing from the college ranks in European professional leagues, like how they did it in 2018. USA Hockey Executive Director Pat Kelleher said of Van Beesbrook, he certainly has the greatest handle on the overall player pool of American players. With this turn of events, we have to get back to work quickly selecting our team, Ben Beesbrook said. Ben Beesbrook served as U.S. Hockey's assistant executive director of hockey operations for the past 3.5 years. He is a U.S. Hockey Hall of Famer who played 953 NHL games from 1981 to 2002. Quinn and Ben Beesbrook have spoken every day since the NHL withdrawal from the Olympics. Quote, John and I changed gears in a hurry once this became official and started focusing on the current player pool that we're going to be able to draw from. That pool could include players in the AHL and ECHL, though not those under contract with an NHL organization.
Right. Anybody?
I'm not sure how that works.
Well, in the NHL, you have two-way contracts where it's think of it as like options in baseball, where you have the ability to be moved back and forth between the minors and the majors. So anybody that's on
I get that part, but I thought that was just how everybody worked in the NHL and the AHL. You know, if you're hurt, you need time to rehab, we're going to ship you up to Grand Rapids Griffins or whatever. But there's people that aren't under contract.
Yeah,
in the AHL with an NHL organization.
Well, there's some players in any minor league, and especially in the AHL or the ECHL, where the agreement that they've signed is kind of exclusively with that minor league club. They're the property of the major league club, but you're not getting called up. The major league club has to actually buy that contract then if they call that person up. Whereas somebody who's on a two-way deal, hey, you're getting paid by the major league club, just right now we're keeping you down there for safekeeping at the moment.
Or a little bit more seasoning or whatever.
Right, exactly, yeah. So
okay. Gotcha. So they can draw from the AHL and ECHL, though not those players under contract with an NHL organization, or college players. For instance, instead of 2020 Vezina Trophy winner Connor Hellebuck, the U.S. could have U of M product Strauss Mann as its top goaltender in Beijing. Mann has a 1.75 goals against average and a .932 save percentage in 12 games this season in the Swedish Hockey League. With his time at Boston University, Quinn is familiar with many players on the new list. As for trying to convince current college players to go to the Olympics, he's ready for that challenge as well, even if it won't be easy. I'll finish with this. These circumstances are a lot different than when you're recruiting a college athlete. Leaving the team in the middle of the season and with the COVID situation, there's a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles, but I think everyone wants to play in the Olympics. We just got to make sure we go through the right channels and go through the right process to make sure that we get the right people and put the right team together. That's a lot of rights.
Amen. Isn't that the goal of any team?
Yeah, right. I think it's kind of really generic statement, but at the same time, yeah, a lot of the same word being repeated over and over.
Yep. Man, I tell you what, the numbers on that goalie that's hanging out in the Swedish league, though, my goodness. A 1.75 GAA and a 932 save. Yeah, those will play. Those numbers will play. Yeah, that'll work.
Well, we were texting earlier about how if they do play the college players, kind of that's how the Olympic model typically works for every other sport. Minus basketball. Like,
yep.
They put the college players in there, so it's more, I don't know, more pure. And it'd be funny, we were talking about how they think that China might be at a disadvantage because they got the auto bids and being the host, but their hockey squad might not be up to par with everybody else. And it's like that'd be funny if our B team, aka the college teams, players, ECHL, AHL, etc., if all their rosters still smokes China.
I would almost expect it to happen. Yeah, unfortunately. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Oof, yikes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is going to do it for our show tonight. And that's going to do it for our shows for this year. When we get back next week, which, by the way, starting next week, we are going to be at a new time here on Neutral Zone. We will be same day, Tuesdays, but we will be at 9 Eastern instead of 10 o'clock Eastern, so an hour earlier starting next week. A little bit of a schedule change, hopefully for the better for me, and Zach was nice enough to make it fit into his daily life too. So starting next week, new year, new time for the show. But yeah, next time we get together, it's going to be 2022. So, yeah, happy early new year to you, Zach, and to all the listeners out there. All right, that is going to do it for our show tonight. Want to say once again thank you to our sponsors, Southern California Warriors and Background Check International, for continuing to support not only this show, but all 30 of the shows here on the network. Again, we've got 3 shows debuting this week. We've got Wisconsin and New Orleans and North Texas, Oklahoma are all joining the IE Sports Radio family. Thank you to Larry B for all he does to keep things going in the background here in the station, keep everybody on their toes and knowing what's up. Thank you to Taryn for hanging out with us in the chat room tonight, keeping things going and running smoothly there, and for chiming in every now and again when we kind of like when Wilbon and Kornheiser say something wrong. Taryn's there to let us know when we get it wrong on occasion. So thank you, Taryn, for being our copyist there, and thank you guys for continuing to come here and listen to us week in, week out. We really do appreciate it. You make it fun. That's going to do it for tonight. Zach, Happy New Year. We will talk again next week, buddy. You can catch Zach on Thursday night, 10 o'clock, with Lions, Tigers, and Wings. Oh my. I will be on tomorrow night talking all things Chicago. See you then. All right.